Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you back, Minister. You're always welcome at our committee. And we have many discussions, you and I, about the need to get this right. And that's why I asked to be on this committee. Getting it wrong, to me, is not an option. So Professor Kevin Anderson, who prepared the Tyndall Center report on the climate crisis, testified to our committee. And he stated that, quote, for a 50% chance of meeting the 1.5 degrees, Canada, along with other wealthy oil and gas producers, must cut production by 74% by 2030. That's 7 years from now, with a complete phase-out by 2034. So based on your conversations with your staff and your department, would you say he's right, or is he exaggerating?
I would say that the link is between production and demand. We have to actually reduce demand. Cutting production in Canada is not going to do anything if it can be supplied by other countries. So we have to cut demand, which is about deploying zero-emission vehicle technology in Canada and the United States and around the world. It's about reducing the need that we have for hydrocarbons.
Okay, well, let me try that again. And the IPCC, their working group report refers to a, quote, code red for humanity. They say the alarm bells are deafening and the evidence is irrefutable, and that any further delay will close a brief and rapidly closing window to secure a livable future for all. So what is that window that we have to make this happen?
Well, I mean, I think the IPCC has been pretty clear. You have to achieve the net zero, the 1.5 degree target by 2050. Canada's plan and Canada's target for 2030 is on track for that. I would tell you we are on track for that plan. But I think what has changed recently with the IPCC is that they now believe that even if you actually are targeting the 1.5 degrees or you're targeting net zero, that there will be a slight overshoot. And the way you get back to 1.5 is actually through the deployment of carbon removal technology. And that was what they said recently.
Yeah, I didn't quite read that, but I'll give you that one.
I can quote it for you.
But yeah, well, that would be good. But I was reading the budget because, I really don't see a sense of urgency at all. I see a lot of aspirational talk. There's going to be a new tax credit that, quote, the Department of Finance will engage with experts to establish this, expanding low-carbon economy, greater collaboration on climate action between all orders of government, building capacity to support green procurement. Public services will develop new tools, guidelines, and targets. I mean, this would be a great budget in 2004. 2006, well, then the Harper years came. They weren't interested in the climate. Budget 2015, 2019, either it's code red for humanity or it's business as usual. So why am I seeing aspirational language and I'm not seeing, yeah, this is code red. There's a rapidly closing window. I don't hear a sense of rapidly closing window from you, but I see lots of, yeah, we're going to have consultations, we're going to meet experts, we're going to talk with people, and we're going to get to this better future. Why is it not telling us exactly where those investments are and how soon and what are we going to do to meet this? Either it's an emergency or it's not true.
Well, Mr. Angus, I actually agree with you in the sense of the urgency, and I do think that we are going to need to learn to do things differently as a government at the federal level and other levels of government in order to try to find ways to do things more quickly than perhaps we've been able to do in the past. The one caution I would make to you is we can't ignore our constitutional obligations with respect to consulting with Indigenous peoples, and we have to respect the constitutional division of powers that exists between federal and provincial governments, which does require consultation sometimes. But I don't disagree with you that we have to do that with urgency.
Yeah, I mean, no offense, but when Liberals talk consultations, that tells me that this is getting booted down the road, and I'm seeing a code red for humanity. Because the one thing I do see that you guys moved with urgency on, CAP, Association of Petroleum Producers, said they wanted serious investments in carbon capture. I know you guys are telling me how great this is, but this is completely unproven. 400 environmentalists and scientists warned against it. But in the budget, it's the number one item. It's $7.1 billion. It's there. Everything else is aspirational. So you responded when the oil sector said, give us carbon capture and we'll do our job. But the other elements are still aspirational. When are we going to see that $7.1 billion in hard so that we can say to energy workers and their families, there is a new economy coming, and here it is?
Well, I would say, first of all, the CCS tax credit actually was the subject of long consultations before it actually was implemented. The second is the IPCC.
I know, absolutely.
The IPCC,
No, fair play, because you had 6,800 meetings with Big Oil, so you certainly had lots of consultations on it.
There is no pathway to net zero without carbon capture and sequestration, so it is a critical part of any climate plan.
But it's your own
yes,
part.
Of course. So there needs to be a plan with respect to how we're going to ensure workers and communities are going to be supported through the energy transition, and we are working on that right now.
Okay, well, that's interesting, because Dr. Tricia Williams gave us a mind-blowing statement the other night when we were talking about this transition, and we've heard from the Alberta Federation of Labour, we've heard Canadian Labour Congress, we've heard Iron and Earth, who say their workers don't trust that there is a plan. And she said, quote, "Within Canada, we know very little thus far about how specific regions and sectors may be affected by the energy transition. In terms of labor and skills, that analysis simply hasn't been done." So how do we go back and tell the workers who are coming here that there is a plan for just transition when you haven't even drilled down to tell us what this new economy is going to look like, where these new jobs are? And I do not see in this budget the money that needs to be put in place to ensure that we've got a green energy economy.
So I agree with you again entirely, Mr. Angus. We need to paint a picture of what those jobs of the future are going to look like. And in 3 weeks from now, we will be kicking off regional tables that are going to do exactly that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.